I think we are going live now.
Okay.
Just a second. Hi everyone, a very good evening to all of you. I'm delighted to welcome you to another scholar series of Foreign Grad. With us today, we have another distinguished scholar, Ms. Sravya, on the topic of understanding MBA from Tepper School of Business, Carnegie Mellon, and how to score 720 plus marks in GMAT. I welcome her wholeheartedly. She has got some great admission offers. She has been able to carve a career for herself in the with the help of a foreign education, and we welcome her with the intention that some of you or most of you will be able to understand the application process abroad and also be able to understand how one can get amazing opportunities, uh, draft good scholarship and university applications. With this, I invite Ms. Sravya with an introductory question that she has had a very interesting journey so far, and what are some of the highlights of her journey. Welcome, Sravya.
Thank you so much. So I think my career started in India. So right out of college, I joined a consulting role in this company called Computer Associates that doesn't exist anymore. So I always was fascinated with the fact that I can apply tech to do something incredible. So in my role as a tech consultant, I was working with the banking industry and the healthcare industry, and I moved to Singapore, working at this firm called Standard Chartered Bank. And I was doing change management for them. So at the same time, in my personal life, I was also venturing a startup, which I sold before coming here. So I became a lot more interested in the business side of things. It started fascinating me to understand how businesses work and the work some of these executives do. So that's when I decided to do an MBA to learn more. Um, I worked for 3.5 years before joining my school, and ever since then, I ventured a lot of different opportunities. Tech was my ultimate goal, but I was a product manager intern at Salesforce in my first year, and then again I joined back as a consultant for Microsoft in a startup kind of a team. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I would just say that for everyone out there who wants to pursue an MBA, I think it completely depends upon where do you want to get to. MBA might not be the only option. There are so many more degrees out there which you can pursue. So just evaluate what you want to do.
That's very sound advice. So you did have a very successful career in India. So what made you decide to pursue an MBA degree from a USA from USA and not from India? Because also India has some amazing business schools. So what was something that motivated you to pursue a foreign MBA as opposed to an MBA which is more homegrown?
So I actually got into ISB, but my I made a matrix for myself, and I actually advise everyone to make that matrix for themselves as well. Like geography was not really a consideration for me. I would have joined anything in Singapore as well because I was working there. But I think there were additional factors, right? One was I was looking at a school which is smaller in class set. I wanted a more closed environment because I strive better in a closed environment. I really can't be in a class of 1,000 people without getting personal attention. So that's just the way I work. That's my personality. And the other factors were tech companies. So Singapore is good for financial companies, but and India has tech companies, but they're more on the services side. So I really wanted to be closer to a tech company which is headquartered in that location. So I think that was one of the reasons why US was a natural choice for me. And finally, also, I think I was looking for a school that has both tech and business focus. So Carnegie Mellon was one school for me. Carnegie Mellon has access to the biggest AI labs, and the brightest engineering students whom you can participate with in a number of activities and learn from. So it was not just a business thing for me. It was also trying to understand how can I get closer to tech. So making a matrix of what factors are important to you, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years and 10 years, really helps. And also, when you start talking to people from each of these schools, you'll realize you have similarities in what you want to do with them. And, it just makes your decisions easier when you start talking to people.
Sure, that's very sound, and it is good to know your thought process through deciding whether to do an MBA in India or abroad. What is most interesting for our attendees today is to know the application process and what it really takes to crack that foreign MBA admission. So, would you like to throw some light on your personal experience of having applied to the Tepper School of Business, and what are the
Yeah.
important parts of the application?
Sure. So I actually applied in the round two of admissions. Most people get scared that applying in round two will reduce the chances. That is not really true. First myth that is busted. Um, so when you actually think about an application, there's so many people like you who are equally smart, have equal professional and personal achievements. You have to think about how do you differentiate yourself. I mean, it sounds weird. It's just an MBA, but you have to really introspect yourself. What kind of a person are you? How do you want to show you as a person to the admissions committee versus uh, a, a, a tech consultant with 720 from GMAT who has a startup and is similar to another person with a similar profile who's applied to the school. So that's one of the biggest advices I would give you. Uh, Try to frame your essays. Your essays are the most important part of your application. Many people get stuck upon score. They think that if you get a good score like 720 plus, it's enough to crack a good school. Not true. I know many people who got more than me and still got rejected. So make sure you differentiate yourself by showing your personality. So when I wrote my essays were really about me being a woman in the tech industry. So they were really about me, my relationship with my mom. It was a strange essay, but it was really about my relationship with my mom, how my mom thinks women should be, and how I think women should be, and how I think I can become a motivation going forward for women who want to pursue a career in tech. So that was my essay, and many people get really stuck upon showing their achievements. That's not what an admissions committee is looking for. Please write an essay that talks about you, your personality. I know a guy who got into Harvard, a friend who is a consultant in one of the reputed companies and works in London. He has an amazing profile. He got rejected from Harvard 2 times, but third time he wrote about a cow that he owns, a cow, his cow, and how he wants to make a business out of his cow. So that's what they want to know. Like they want to know what persuades you to become to be the best, and how can your personality help your classmates to learn from you. They don't want 100 people who are similar. They want different. They want to create a diversity. So show that diversity by bringing out your personality. So that's the best advice I can give you. And that kind of comes up only when you do an introspection. You really need to spend time understanding yourself, like dig deeper, ask yourself those questions like, who am I? It's weird. It's like a spiritual journey, but that's what you have to do, and that's what helps you through your career as well. Because many places you go, when you start applying for these internships or jobs, people want to see a cultural fit. People want to understand who you are. So doing that exercise once helps you throughout your life.
Definitely, reasoning out is very important, and it also helps you
Yeah.
in putting things into perspective. If you're doing it for the right reasons, it really matters, because if
Yeah,
you link it to a job or an objective or something that you would like to do in your life, that is something that appeals to the admissions committee, whereas gives yourself clarity as well, that why am I pursuing a master's and why do I
yeah.
need to do it from abroad? And these are different stages in one's thought process, which you beautifully outlined for us. So, what is the best approach or some of the approaches that applicants should take while drafting essays for Tepper School of Business? Some application tips, maybe two or three that you might want to share with the prospective applicants.
So I think for a longest period of time, Tepper had the same essay question. I don't know if they changed it. It goes along the lines of, if you meet a admissions committee member in an airport, what would you say to that person? So
That's interesting.
um,
That's an interesting
y-
prompt to crack. Yeah.
right. So again, what that really means is that, convince me that you are the right fit for the school in in an elevator pitch. Why should the admissions committee manager hire you as a candidate? So keep it succinct. Don't go about rambling away. Just keep it to what I said before, like, show your personality, like, tell a little bit about your past, tell how that affects your present, and tell how would that shape your future, and how Tepper can help you become that person in the future, and how with that present and past of yours can you help your classmates to become their best in the future. So I think those are the 4 points that the essay really wants to know. And you see different versions of these essays for different schools. It's the same prompt essentially, but it's like different framings of the essay. For Stanford, it is something else. For Tuck, it is something else. For Darden, I think they ask you like, tell 20 amazing facts about you or something like that, or not so amazing facts about you. I don't remember. So I think make sure you actually reflect that past, present, and future, and how the school can help and how can you help the school. So keep it succinct, but don't go away from showing your personality. Don't tell, oh, I'm going to be the president of the club, I will start a radio, I will build an AI platform. All of that is bullshit. Everybody knows, you can't do so much when you're at school.
And what
Just show your personality.
So the that's a good thing. And what really struck me in your answer was that you have to connect the past with the present and the future, and that link has to be something which is visible to the admissions committee, as well as
Yeah,
something that you're answering in a very preemptive manner. So you have to preempt the
yeah.
questions that we are seeking answers for and answer it through your essay. Very well put. So GMAT is a big part of going for an MBA abroad, and getting a score can become a make or break in terms of your applications. So how did you go about preparing and getting such a high score in your GMAT examinations? And would you like to share some tips with our viewers today?
Sure. So I didn't get a good score in GMAT in the first attempt, first of all.
That's a good
I got
uh,
I got a six I
inspiration.
got a 690. Yeah, I got a 690 when I first took it. So when I first took it, I was very nervous. So I was like, this is the end of the life. I have to crack it. I have to go away. Everybody's moving on. I have to do something. I was very anxious and desperate. I was 23.
As we all
I
are.
was
As we all are.
Yeah, I mean, like, you see people moving on with amazing opportunities, and you get worried about where are you with your life? What are you doing? So I was very nervous. I was not at home, first of all. I was in Singapore. I was working there, and I was all alone. So that kind of added to my tension that, I have to do something. But that's not the right approach, I would say. First of all, you need to calm down. Like, writing, cracking GMAT and going away for an MBA is not the only option in your life, and it's not the end of your life. You have to be calm. You have to be like, it's okay. I mean, if it's fine if I don't crack it, big deal. I have other opportunities. So the first time I went, I was like so pressurized. I really, really fucked it up. I mean, sorry about my French, but I really did that. But the second time when I wrote it, I was like, dude, I have a good job. I have I'm getting amazing salary, and my boss at that time was happy to apply for a PR for me in Singapore and also sponsor my MBA if I wanted to do it. So I had a good option. So I was like, doesn't really matter. I can go on and I can find opportunities. And my startup was also doing well. So I was like, it's okay, it doesn't really matter. So I think go with that attitude of, uh, I
Abandoned.
can
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, don't be like, I don't care, but be sane enough to keep yourself in control. Don't go mad over it. I mean,
So it's
it's
important
not.
to keep your nerves under calm when you're writing that exam,
Yeah,
preparing for
I
that
mean,
exam.
it's a test of your endurance, right? It's like it's a 4 hours exam with 2 breaks, which are like very minimum. You see people around you. It's a room filled with people who are like super intelligent, and they're all into their computer, staring at it and trying to crack something. Don't get nervous. I mean, it's an any day thing, and you can always take your GMAT again if you don't crack it. But one thing that I would say helped me the most, other than calming my nerves, is that uh, work towards a end schedule. Like, some people take about 6 months to prepare for their GMAT. I think that's a very wrong approach. Just first book your date, then start preparing towards that date. So you automatically start working towards, when you start working towards a date, you're more efficient. You manage your time better. You learn things, you put some effort to grasp things faster. When you book a date 6 months after, you just tend to procrastinate. In that 6 months, effectively you end up reading 3 weeks, and it just makes you lazy and doesn't help you manage your time. So do that, and identify the weaknesses first of all. Like, I think many people do it, but they don't do it efficiently. Write your test, identify your weaknesses, and in your weaknesses, pick the areas that you're weak. Indians are by nature strong and quant. Verbal is the thing that they usually go wrong with. So pick your weaknesses and start working more on your weaknesses than on your strengths. Your strengths will be your strengths because that's something you gained over the past. So that's something that you have to do. So those are the 3 tips that I think are very important. And keep practicing. Don't stop practicing. I always picked a series that is probably higher in bar than the original GMAT. I used to do Manhattan. I don't know about what is in the market today,
Can you
but
repeat
pick a
that again?
series.
That wasn't clear. Yeah.
I picked a series that is tougher in bar than the original GMAT is. Manhattan was then the toughest exam practice series out there. So pick something which is above the bar of the GMAT itself, so that you're mentally strained enough and you are prepared. You know how to manage your time. The
That's
questions are not
valuable
very
advice.
hard.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
is
the questions are not hard. It is about how you manage your time and your stress levels. So pick an practice exam that is really tough, so that you can actually calm your nerves when in the real exam. So that is my biggest advice to you, everyone.
so being calm under pressure, organizing, scheduling properly, relying on the right sources, and keeping on practicing those papers is something
Yeah,
that I would advise somebody who's wanting to appear for these exams. That's really
yeah.
very sound advice. Another question that many of our viewers ask us is that, okay, I would like to apply to an MBA abroad, but who's going to finance it because it's an expensive affair? So, are there some scholarships or financial aid that are available at Tepper School, and would you like to throw some light on them?
So MBA in the US is very expensive. I wouldn't deny that. But there are no scholarships. There are some Dean's Fellow scholarships, which are only given to one person. And I think there's a criteria around that of being a citizen. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Um, but there are no scholarships. Women uh, get scholarships through this foundation called the Forte Foundation. It's an NGO
All right.
that wants women more. Like, usually the MBA class is very skewed. It is 40 women to 300 men. So it's always very skewed. So the ratio to increase that ratio and make it more equal, there's this foundation which gives scholarships based on your professional background, your personal life, if you have kids and you're married. So they
Oh,
assign you a certain scholarship amount. So that is usually pretty good. some women also get full coverage through this foundation and full ride. So that is something that is a disadvantage for most of the men. But you can always ask your school about the opportunities. Like don't feel shy to ask your admissions officer or your interviewer in their interview. Uh, asking like, what are my scholarship opportunities? I know
That's
if there are
very
no,
good advice. Yes, that one.
yeah, if
I just be prompt in asking if there are
yeah,
any scholarship or financial aids available, because they are available for you, and if you don't
yeah,
sort of avail them, then what's the point? That's really good advice.
true. So just ask them. I mean, even if there are not no organic opportunities, I'm pretty sure there are inorganic opportunities. Like, some schools actually give you an option to participate in a competition or, write an essay for scholarship or things like that, like convince the school board that you deserve scholarship. So just make sure. I know my classmate who used to work for Unilever, she got a full ride because she requested the school. She actually showed her merits and she did some additional interviews to do that. So I think you can definitely do that. You just have to be bold enough to ask. I never asked. I was stupid, but there are people who are bold enough to ask
That's
that.
already
When
all
an
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so when an interviewer asks you like, do you have any questions? Ask for Talk about financial aid. It's nothing to be shameful about. You can always let them know that $1 is 78 now, whatever. So do let them know about the financial challenges and ask them for ways to actually help you out. And they're very helpful in that way. They want to genuinely help you.
I agree, because a lot of students have this myth that if I ask for financial aid opportunities, they might not give me admission. But actually, the truth is these two processes are completely separate to each other, and
Yeah,
you don't get disadvantaged just because you have applied for financial aid or a particular
yeah.
scholarship. Another question that is frequently asked is that what are these admission committees looking for in candidates? If there are two, three characteristics that make or break your application, if you would want to outline them from your own experience of applications, that's something which the admission committee is looking for in a particular student's profile. What would those qualities be?
I think they do have a bucket of diverse factors that they want to look at the class itself. Like, when they decide the next class, they have, a ratio of, so and so people, or, the diversity thresholds that they set. And, so I think they are trying to check those boxes when they're trying to interview you. But that said, I don't think you should care much about that. They're always open to freshness in candidates, and they want people who think out of the box. So, like I said before, make sure I mean, applications and essays are one part, but when you're interviewing, make sure you're more structured in your responses. You have very less time. You have 30 minutes, and those 30 minutes actually is a make or break, right? Like, you can be
Pretty much selling
waitlisted, you
yourself
can
to
be
the interview
rejected.
panel. Pretty much selling yourself to the interview panel and just
Right,
there.
right. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go mad preparing. Be yourself. Don't sound too
Rehearse. Yeah, one shouldn't.
rehearsed. Yeah, like be free flowing, but add some structure to your answers. So this is something that many MBA schools teach. It's called the STAR format. So it's situation, task, action, and result. So it's a format that many US folks universally follow. Like when you're either doing an interview with a corporate, or you are like doing an admissions interview. Either of way, they follow this format. It's easier for them to follow when you tell your stories in that format, because they're trained to think that way. So talk about your responses in the STAR format. You can research, like there's so much of material out there where it helps you think, helps you prepare that way. So prepare for these standard questions. Like, what I found interesting was there's so many question banks out there where people post their questions, and more or less those are the questions which these admissions committee folks ask you. Maybe they ask you one or two questions to throw you off and make you uncomfortable. Don't feel uncomfortable. Always, if you don't know an answer to something, feel free to take the time, like pause and say, can you give me a second or 20 seconds to think through it? Pause, think through it, and answer in the right format. Don't just blurt out stuff. So when you frame your answers, it's easier for them to follow. It's easier for them to report the results. It's easier for them to judge you. So make sure you frame and take the time if you're not sure about a response. Take the time, ask the time, frame, and then respond.
Yes, that is
Eh,
really good advice. And I think interviews are always tricky and one should go prepared but not over prepared. So now I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you a final set of questions wherein I'm clubbing two of the questions. Firstly, if you could throw some light on the job opportunities that are available for MBA graduates in the US, and you yourself are such a great example of having worked in the top companies in the world, and presently you're working at Microsoft, which is a dream job for anyone who has graduated with an MBA degree. So, how has your experience been of working in Microsoft? So, two twin questions. First, what are the job opportunities available, and how has your experience been of working at Microsoft?
So here's the thing. Uh, so opportunities wise, I think right now the situation is bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. It's not going to be a cakewalk. With the executive order from the president, you are not essentially allowed to come and study here for probably the next 1 year. It says 2020, but I'm pretty sure the situation is grave enough. The unemployment rate right now in the US is 15%, and many corporates are trying to organically pump that number, the number of people who are digitally skilled. So make sure you keep that in mind. You have 1 year. Take that time to actually, do the right research, prepare for your exam well, crack it. The GMAT score will be available for the next 5 years. So this is your 1 year to actually cool the steam off and prepare well. Um, Once this is all over, I think schools will be more wel- warm and welcoming to international students. So this is your chance to actually take the time to actually prepare and choose the right schools.
So there is a silver
Um,
lining to all this, that one gets time to prepare, reflect,
yeah,
more insightful about their decisions. That's a positive
yeah,
spin on the current situation. Yeah.
yeah, and also it's not going to be a cakewalk. I will be very frank. When I joined, it was Trump's first second year actually. So many companies actually rescinded on their H-1B sponsorship. So without H-1B sponsorship, they don't even hire you for internship, knowing the fact that you're an immigrant. So there were some, not some, a lot, like 60% of the jobs that you're naturally eliminated for because you're not a citizen or you don't have any immigration status. So it is it is something that you have to keep in mind that you are prepared for that mental rigor. I broke down a lot of times in first year.
That's
My
brave.
classmates,
That's brave enough.
many international students, they don't really get placed until the end, as compared to your other classmates who are citizens or have eligible immigration status. So I probably was like one of the last 10 people to get hired. I fortunately got three acceptances in 1 week, but until that last week, I didn't even have a job. I didn't know what to do. I was like, it's okay, I'll find myself a startup and work for free or something like that. So be prepared for that mental rigor. You will go through that insanity. Luckily, the OPT period for MBA has now been extended to 3 years. Um, it was 1 year for us. So it was a make or break situation for us, which gives us only 1 year to apply for a lottery. But for for the new grads, it's 3 years. So it's an interesting opportunity, gives you more leverage. Uh, but yeah, be prepared for the mental rigor. Many Indians short sell themselves and really don't understand the value of networking. So be shed that personality of being shy. That's the first thing that your counselors teach you at school. Like many international students innately are shy. Like that's our culture, but you have to shed that image. You have to learn to brag about yourself in a humble way. So that is something that probably this 1 year, that's something that you have to aim to do. Like prepare yourself to brag about yourself. And then also really make sure you network. This 1 year is an amazing opportunity. Network not just with the schools and the students, but also network with companies in the US. Reach out to people, learn more about the stuff they're doing, try to understand what they're doing, and create a pathway for yourself to how to get there using your MBA degree. So that's something that I didn't do, but I would encourage everyone to do. Make connections. Make connections. People definitely keep you in mind if you are a stunning candidate, and they will think about you when they start posting jobs, or someone they know start posting jobs. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, networking is key to success in this kind of a environment, especially wherein there are few jobs and there are so many candidates. So, how was your experience of working in Microsoft? That is something we would love to know from you.
So Microsoft is an amazing company. I think I've been at two tech companies. Both of them are global in nature. So uh, maybe the perks of working in a global company are pretty much the same. But I think what differentiates Microsoft is its culture. The culture is something Microsoft deeply and dearly cares about. We at Microsoft really genuinely want others to succeed, and it's very new to me that you have reverse mentoring opportunities.
Mm.
You can always reach out to executives to mentor them. Mentoring is common when executives try to mentor you, but reverse mentoring is when you, as a young person, want to change the way an old executive thinks about how to run a company. So that's something exciting for me. I've never done that before, so it's crazy. And the second thing is that differentiates Microsoft is it genuinely cares about your growth. My manager wants me to be in a role that I am passionate about, and she has always tried to help me carve that pathway to where I want to get to. So that's something weird. Like very less companies care about what you're passionate about. It's like they don't want you to do a manual job just because you're getting paid. They want you to genuinely be in a role that you're passionate about, that you can contribute well, and where you can grow. So I think that's something that very few companies have an opportunity, and Microsoft is probably one of the few companies where
That's
you
amazing to
can
hear,
do
and it
that.
means that you are at the right place wherein you are getting opportunities to grow, and from where you will only achieve greater heights. With this, Shavya, I'm so glad that you could have taken out this time for us and for being a part of the Scholar Series for Foreign Grad. I'm sure the attendees have gained a lot from your insightful experiences, and I know how busy you are, and to take out time to really speak to the fraternity at large and to speak to the young people who are trying to now apply and be where you are 5, 10 years down the line is a great service to humanity, especially during these times which are so unprecedented. Thank you so very much, Ravya, and we hope that you keep on excelling in your role, and we keep hearing about your achievements. With this, I would also like to thank our attendees for being so patient today. We've concluded a 9 scholar series. Foreign Grad every week comes up with new distinguished scholars sharing their experiences in order to serve the community of aspirants who want to study abroad. Thank you. With this, we are concluding today's webinar. Have a nice evening. Thank you. Thank you, Shamil.
Thank you.